Hey, what's going on? So I wanted to do a quick test between a couple picture profiles because I am using the Sony A7s III and I have another channel where I love quality and good quality video and audio, but I hate spending a ton of time editing. So I kind of wanted to strike a balance between good dynamic range, soft highlight roll off, good colors, but without a lot of work in post. And I know there's things like S-Log, which is great, but I prefer HLG just because the ISO is lower. I find that it has a good dynamic range. So with these tests, I'm going to be comparing the HLG3 profile, which is one of my favorites, to picture profile off in a neutral. I got the settings here if you're wondering how my neutral setting is, as well as picture profile off, just straight completely off. And there's going to be two main tests. Basically, for HLG3, I go by my highlights. I just expose as far as I can to the right without overexposing. So I set my zebras to 99 plus in the custom mode 2, and I set this, basically crank up the light and then turn up the ISO until this clips and then pull it back just 2 ticks on the ISO. And then I want to do another test where I set the gray side to 50% IRE using zebras for all the profiles. So it might be a little different because I know Gerald Undone has a couple different reasons as to why ISOs actually are different per profile. But anyway, let's go ahead and cut to the tests. So this is HLG3, looking pretty good. It looks very natural, and this is just adding a single leeming LUT corrective node. Creative look neutral, clearly overexposed, but honestly doesn't look that bad color wise, and I'm sure a lot of this isn't clipped, so it can be recovered in post. Creative look standard, picture profile off as well. Just too saturated for me. Looks a little plasticky, a little too harsh for my taste. Looking at them side by side, I clearly like HLG3 the most, but I can bring the highlights back up, but that kind of battles what I was just mentioning by not wanting to do too much in post. Now on to setting the gray card to 50% using the zebras. HLG3 is clearly underexposed, but not looking bad. Creative look neutral looks way better here, and I didn't have to push it down too much on the ISO, but it definitely did help. I would honestly even bring it down a bit more. And again, like last time, creative look standard just looks a bit plasticky to me. It's too saturated and a little sharp. Side by side, HLG3 clearly underexposed, neutral, pretty good for my taste, and standard honestly doesn't look that bad. So I haven't graded the footage yet, but during the testing, a couple things that I noticed was that for both the standard picture profile off with standard, as well as picture profile off with neutral, I did have to turn down my ISO a little bit just to kind of match the same settings when it came to the clipping point of 99 plus, as well as the standard range of 50 plus or minus 1 when it came to the zebras. Other than that, it seemed like they were pretty much both good to go. I'm back on HLG3 right now, and by default, yes, when I look at the monitor, I do look very green, very flat, and very gray, even though I only had to turn up the ISO a little bit. So the picture profile off definitely does add a lot of contrast, and it might be a better image straight out of camera. And when it came to the way that I graded these, I just used a leeming LUT on the HLG as a corrective node. I used DaVinci Resolve, so I added a node for denoise and didn't touch it, and then I added a node and added the leeming LUT to it and left the exposure values exactly the same. I do notice that with the leeming LUT, even though he has mentioned a couple times that it does not affect brightness of your image, it's just color, it definitely looks way darker than when you originally filmed it. So I don't know, take that with a grain of salt. I'm sure he's telling the truth, but it's just kind of crazy how much color can affect your lumosity values, I guess you can say. And then for the picture profile off settings, I didn't touch anything. It's just straight out of camera. Didn't turn it down, didn't turn it up, nothing. So yeah, I wanted to figure out what was the quickest and easiest way to just hit record, talk to you, and then post it online without having to do a ton of work in post, but not sacrifice dynamic range and quality and just a nice image. So yeah, anyway, I'll see you in the next one. Hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, I'll see you soon, hopefully. All right, peace.